So thank you all for being a part of this discussion today. I want to kick it off with the Prime Minister. Mr. Prime Minister, give us a sense, don't give us just one reason. It's a big enough issue. Give us two reasons.
Yeah.
And I'll ask all of you, two reasons why it is essential that digital IDs are at the top of your agenda in your country.
Can we have a look at your ID first?
No.
To make sure that we have the right moderation. No, I said it, I don't have ID because I just wanted to bring into the attention of the people on this audience that where Somalia is. We are undertaking major reforms in our country. We are very pleased and grateful with the work we're doing with IMF and World Bank, and we're very close to having a process of debt relief. That will enable our economy to grow. We'll have access to international financial institutions. But in order for our banks to function, we need to have the issue of KYC resolved. And to do that, you need an ID card.
Yep.
And that is what we are trying to work with the World Bank on.
And KYC, for those joining online, know your customer, very basic element of banking regulation.
And without that ID card system, you can solve that problem. The second element is that we are undertaking a political reform process where we are rewriting our constitution. That will also give us an opportunity for our country to give our ordinary citizens to get power back from the politicians, meaning that we are rooting for one person, one vote. And for us to conduct an election system in our country, you will need an ID card. 3, we're doing security sector reform. And to do a security sector reform in our country, to register every soldier, and you need to pay them biometrically, you need to have secure, reliable ID card system that works. And finally, with ID card system that works, it will help grow our economy, help us reform our security structures, and lead our country to a one-person, one-vote election. And on top of that, we will know every individual in the country and every citizen. And that will help the security team on the ground to improve the security of the country. And finally, it is the best way to eliminate or reduce corruption. So, the solution of whoever is going to win the award, I will want to hear today the person who will design ID cards for Somalia. That's why I joined this panel.
That is a good call to action. And as you can tell, please applaud the Prime Minister. As you can tell, the ID card is pretty fundamental to the nation state, right? You're talking about elections, you're talking about security, you're talking about providing basic services.
Where our country has a great potential in economic growth, in political stability, in security sector reform, and it's a nation with a lot of resources, provided that it is well managed. Just to re-emphasize, therefore, the importance first of the ID, where my country has reached in terms of reforms, we cannot move from here unless we solve the ID issue. To put it in perspective, for us as a country, it actually means we cannot develop our economy or make our central bank function or our security sector function, or we can not hold elections in our country. Or our students and universities will not be able to take part of the development of the nation. In other words, where my country today is, unless we have an ID system that every citizen has access to, then every effort we've been making in every other reform stops. So that's just in perspective. Second element is the question you've talked about is the risk. There's always downside to technology. But that is why we have to always keep trying to improve. There must be a strengthened capacity in the government who owns the system. We need to make sure that countries see this in line with how you deal with corruption, so that doesn't bring a problem. There must be a security managed structure so that you know how this is done. And then proper investment and future investment is made in line with the other reforms that you are making as a nation. So for us, where we are, how do you fix the problem? And how do you prevent future problems in terms of the risk that comes with? But mitigation of risk It's part of the planning of the initial phase in terms of putting the mechanisms in place, and that's where we are hoping to see. The advantage with our country is that is maybe where a completely newly designed system could be tested.
Right.
And then other countries can take advantage of.
And I think that's why you have the 4D in the name ID4D.